and welcome to Project Home DIY. I'm Christine, owner and curator of Your Boxes. I'm sure you're getting to know me through our Facebook group. If you are not part of that group, please join us by following the link in projecthomediy.com and logging into your account. Right on that main account page at the bottom, there's going to be an invite to our VIP group. You'll get sneak peeks of upcoming projects, as well as being able to interact and ask questions with me and the rest of the group members. It's awesome, so make sure you join us there. I have what you've all been waiting for so long, what you've seen sneak peeks of in our VIP group, another good reason to join it. And here it finally is. I hope you're just as excited for it now that you've gotten to open it. So let's get started right away. We have a couple different steps to do this month for sure, and some new techniques to learn, and I'm excited to be able to share those with you. So kind of a bigger box, lots of stuffing in there. Set that to the side. You can always use the tissue paper to set your wet painted things on to keep your surface area clean, so just keep that in mind. If you are brand new with us, you will find a starter kit in your box. Welcome, so glad to have you. These are items you will use every month, so keep these handy. Hot glue gun, sanding block, paintbrush, and your glue gun. Make sure you get your glue gun out, get it plugged in because you will need it for this project. And make sure that you don't throw away your paintbrush. This is reusable and you will use it in future months as well. So there's your starter kit. We have raffia, a big bundle of it. You're gonna have lots of leftovers. You have your eucalyptus floral. These are called a pick. It's a floral pick, and a bigger one that would be more than 12 inches long is called a spray. That's kind of something I've learned. You have your 3 colors of paint. Make sure you shake these up before you use them. We have our wood stain, which is a custom color, but the same brand and that we've used before, so it'll do the same thing as our previous projects. And ivory, it's a little different ivory color, so make sure that if from previous months, if you're going to touch up with this on other things, this is a different color. And we have a tan. So those are our 3 colors. Gloves, stain rag, burlap, our high, and this is made just for you, and only Project Home DIY people will be getting this one. This was made just for us. So that's pretty exciting. And your 14-inch round, which I was so excited to be able to get 14-inch ones, because I wanted it to be big. So this is where we will start. Our very first step will be painting this surface ivory, and I'm just going to do the surface, and then when I stain my high, I will also take the stain and do the edges of this. So I'm going to paint and not get the ivory paint around the edges. And the reason I'm doing that is I just think it'll create a cool contrast between the edge and the board color of ivory, and also if you have a lighter color door, from an angle you'll be able to see that darker color on the sides here. So I think it'll have a cool contrast that way. And the high side, or the high, we will stain, and we'll do that second. So first step is to paint your round in ivory. Or you can use any colors, any combinations you want, but that's what the cool thing is. And that's what I also love about our VIP group. If you join us, you can share your projects there. And I create an album that's called August High Round Sign. And you guys can put all of your projects in there, and it's super fun to see the variations that everybody created. Keep in mind, as you're creating this, you could do, say, black and orange on this side, and this can be the ivory tan, and then it can be flipped later on, like for fall and for Halloween or whatever. So keep that in mind, and then always you can repaint over your other colors too and keep using it. When you choose to do that though, I would suggest I'm going to be hot gluing this right on here, I would suggest using like command glue dots. They're a little bit less permanent than hot glue is going to be, and you'd be able to switch that stuff out. So keep that in mind. It'd be super fun to see some of these using like Halloween colors. So there's a fun little tip to be able to see that in the future. You'll have your paintbrush in your bag, so get that out. I just dump on the paint and go for it. And we have some super fun upcoming things for the rest of the year planned. Make sure you don't miss out on those. We have some new packaging stuff coming, some awesome new projects. We've really been working hard. We've been listening to you very carefully in the group of what you want, and you've been very specific about what you want as well, and we listen. So we will make sure we get those things to you. If you do notice you got a little bit of paint on the sides, you can use the sanding block that we gave you to fix that, and that's okay. So do you see how I went over it pretty sloppily and then there's paint lines going every direction? That's how I always do everything, because I feel like wood grain, it's all different directions. And so if you go a bunch of different directions, it's going to allow the wood to fill in every area. And then once I'm closer to being done, I will go over it one direction and make it nice and straight. Got a paint hair in here. Get out of here. Okay. So now I'll smooth it out. And just a little tip when you're painting, and you see that I'm wearing obviously not really paint clothes, but always when you're painting, brush away from you. Don't fling your brush right at you, because then you will fling paint right on you. So I've usually gotten pretty good about keeping paint away from me and always brushing away, and let your brush tips fling opposite direction. And that way you won't get dirty. So I'm gonna put this in front of a heater. I use small space heaters to set against the wall, and then I put the heater right here, and it dries this in literally like 5 minutes. So if you have a small space heater, get it out and use that for drying. It'll make your dry time so much faster and be able to do your projects quicker. Okay, I'm back, and just make sure that you put your paintbrush in some water so it can soak and you can use it again. So from here, let's start staining our high sign. Make sure you put on the gloves. So you don't get stained. Stain is kind of icky to clean up, but I did learn a tip. Again, the VIP group, I can't stress it enough, you gotta join it, but one person shared in there that the stain removes very easily with baby oil. So keep that in mind. If you do get it on your fingers, it will remove with that easily. Okay, so the stain, make sure you do shake it up. And then we'll use our little stain rag. You can use any kind of rag for this. And I'm just gonna stain the top surface. We got a little bit warmer of a color this time. So here I'm just staining. And I'm not gonna worry about staining the sides of this because it was laser cut. And so there's already a dark cut side. So I'm just gonna leave it just like that because I like that. And I can't wait to see your guys, because I know somebody's gonna paint their high a fun color word. So I wanna see that. Make sure you share it. So there's the stained piece. Super simple, easy. You're not gonna need very much stain. I went with a warmer color high sign, color stain, just to warm it up a little bit with our colors we got going on here. We got fall coming. This is a great this is almost a great year-round wreath, because you can really, it's so fallish, but it's also super year-round perfect. So there's our stain part. I'm going to let that sit for a little bit. You can set this in front of the heater as well, except for we're not going to be using the surface of it. So it doesn't necessarily have to dry in order to move on with what we're doing. So your eucalyptus, you can do this a couple different ways. If you have wire cutters, I suggest cutting each of these pieces off. And I, of course, don't have wire cutters, so don't follow with what I'm doing. I have children, though, and that's why I don't have wire cutters sitting here in my basket. It's supposed to have wire cutters in it because they take everything. So I'm going to cut it with my scissors, but don't do that unless you don't care about your scissors. So I'm going to cut them like this, and I'm going to make sure that maybe once I get to putting on the ribbon and these eucalyptus sprigs, I'm going to see if I want some of them longer like this behind it, and then maybe pull some of these shorter guys off and see if I want to use those separate. So when we get to that, so I might use some like this too and just fill in spots. So you can cut up your little sprig, just use a wire cutter. But let's, for now, make the burlap ribbon. So this might be a little bit of an intimidating part. Actually, just a second. I opened one up, so I'm going to continue using that one. I have one right here. So, to start, take about 4 inches and cut it off with your scissors that you just damaged. Oops. Anyways, and then unroll. If you're scared of this part, don't be scared. You have just the right amount of burlap because we're awesome like that and, you know, plan that kind of stuff for you. First thing you're going to do is fold it over about like that. This will become the width of your ribbon. So if you want it wider, floppier, give it more room. If you want it less floppy, give it less. So, and then we're going to wrap it this direction. And then we're going to wrap it this direction. And then we're going to wrap it this direction. And I want 3 loops on the side of my ribbon, so I'm going to do it 3 times on each side. And then wrap it one more over, so then my cut end edge ends right here, and the other cut edge ends right here. So with that being said, take the center and pull it together just like that. Pretty simple. And here's where you're gonna need your hot glue gun. And we gotta be really careful, and we're gonna do this one-handed. But take your hot glue gun and run a strip of hot glue down the center. Let it dry just a moment. It'll leak through and you're gonna burn yourself. Except for what I want you to do first. I know this sounds silly. I know this probably doesn't follow the CDC guidelines, but they don't know what we're doing anyways. So what I'm gonna tell, just lick your fingers before you touch the hot glue, and you won't get burned because the hot glue won't stick to a wet surface. So let it dry a little bit first, and then you're just gonna wrap that around. And here I go. How's that? Licking my fingers during a pandemic. We'll be fine. Okay, so I wrapped that sucker around there. It doesn't look so cute so far, but we need to fluff him up. So bring him out. Oops, I pulled too hard. Not dry yet. If it comes apart, just glue him again. Okay. Glue him again. Again, if you're going to touch the hot glue, lick your fingers. Just don't tell anybody I told you to. Okay, now I'm going to hold the center while I do this again, just in case. But I'm going to fluff out each one of these ribbons. And you know what, you guys, there's lots of ways to be able to make these bows, but you can follow whatever way makes sense to you or works for you. These the blunt cut ends, I like to dovetail. So fold them in half and cut from the split outside to the inside. If you do it the other direction, it'll look funky. So there's my split. And then here's my other one. I'm going to fold it in half, cut to the fold. We're just cutting out a little triangle piece, and it just creates that fun little look. Okay, the cool thing about this too is once we get it down on our board or sign, we'll be able to kind of move this stuff around and then hot glue it and tack it down in places that we want it to be. So there's that part, and it's all perfect and nice, and I like it. I'm going to go get the wood round and my sanding block ready. Okay, here's the wood round. You'll feel it's kind of rough, and that's when you use your sanding block that's in your bags to get rid of that wood grain. The paint obviously has moisture in it, water, and so when water hits wood, the grain part of the wood peels up, and so that's why wood is always rough after you paint it. So you're just gonna have to sand that down to make it smooth, and also sand off the edges. If you choose to stain it, you can't stain over paint. You can paint over stain, but you cannot stain over paint. Paint will not take stain, so that doesn't work. So those edges are nice. Sand this. Okay. And my next step, there's my bow, looking good, and I'll make it fun and fluffy with that, is the stripes. So here is where you may need a tape measure, and you might want to measure out every inch. So you have a 14-inch round, and you're going to put a line or a dot at every inch so you can keep your stripes straight. Just mark it every inch. Okay, so there's our inches. And then you will need either painter's blue tape or masking tape will work. Masking tape won't provide as crisp of an edge, and the paint can possibly leak underneath, just forewarning. So blue painter's tape, or for you Cricut people that have your own Cricuts, you can cut pieces of vinyl as well and use those. So just cut vinyl and use them. They are 14 inches long, so if you only have a standard Cricut that's a 12 by 24 mat, you're gonna have to cut them the other way, but you just need 7 stripes. So either take your vinyl and put them every inch, every other inch, so you really only need 7 pieces. You possibly could use just clear Scotch tape as well. I'm not 100% sure how well it will stick to the wood. Another good reason why we sand and make sure that this is a smoother surface is because if the surface is not completely flat where you put your tape, any paint will leak under these edges, so we don't want that. So skip a line and put another piece of tape. You can put your pieces closer together, further apart, whatever you want. If you want bigger stripes, smaller stripes, totally up to you. Along with Project Home DIY, I have a custom home decor website on Etsy, and so I make a lot of custom quote block signs for people. And so I place things all day long on blocks and just like this. And so this is, I have a really good eye for being able to see if things are level or straight or not. That takes some practice. If you don't have that good of an eye to be able to see if things are visually straight, just make sure you use your tape measure and pencil and mark lines. Okay, so all those are down. Just make sure none of them are lifted on the edge or you will have paint leaking underneath the edges. Just make sure it's all taped down nice and smooth. If you do get any paint leakage, we'll go over this too when we peel up the stripes, but if you do have paint leaked and the lines aren't perfectly straight, take an X-Acto knife, take the edge of it, and you can just scrape that paint right up off that edge. Like, works like a charm. You'll get it cleaned up right away and there won't be a problem at all. It will look awesome still, I promise you. Okay, take the tan paint and I'm just gonna dump a little on. My paintbrush that I didn't clean out. Okay, that's all dried up. So just paint your stripes. Again, pull away, go away from the board. If you go against that edge right there, you'll get paint underneath the tape on the edges, and you don't want to do that because then you're going to mess up your stained edge. So just go away from the edge. Okay, so that's all painted. Looks great. Keep your paintbrush wet. And I will peel these off now, just so I have them and can see how, if there's any pieces I need to fix. Okay, so again, I'm going to put this in the heater to dry, and we'll be back when it's dried to do the final stain. Okay, I'm back with my dried round, and I wanted to show you with the X-Acto knife. So there is a teeny bit of a lump right here in my stripe, so I'm just going to scrape it just a tiny bit right there. Really lightly. I'm not doing very heavily or else you'll peel up the color underneath, but just kind of straightening out those lines a little bit. But they also won't matter unless you're looking super close at it, so don't worry too much about that. Now take your sanding block and sand the whole surface really well. I like to get the edges really well so the natural color shows back through and you have kind of a contrast between the edge. Okay, so the harder you sand on those lines, the more the ivory paint is going to show through. So if you like that look, continue sanding. If you don't like that look, then don't sand very much, but it's okay to sand some. It takes quite a bit of grit to get that ivory to show through, but I like that look. So I'm gonna make sure that I get that by sanding a little bit more. Okay, all cleaned up. Now I'm gonna stain the edges, like I said before. I took my gloves off, but I'm gonna hold the stain rag just with a my glove. You can see that contrast it's creating between there as well, and I really like that look. Okay, so there's my stained edge. It kind of just completes the look of it, cleans it up a little bit. That's also something you can do very first, and then you can paint over it, because again, you cannot stain over paint, but you can paint over stain. So you could do that first as well. Okay, so I am happy with that. And my eye is right there. Not gonna place it quite yet, but I'm just kind of thinking about this part. And here's my raffia. So I really like raffia, and I like the look of it. And I like just the element it brings to it. So untie your bundle. And again, like I said, you have tons and tons of raffia. So this is going to be very useful in the future. I would take about this much of it. Okay, and when you store it just like this, so you have a nice piece to pull from each time you use it. Okay, this is what I'm going to work with. Okay, I'm going to cut off ends just to make them straight. And this is even going to be a really long length for you. We're just making a bow. So keep that in mind. I'm going to get rid of this stringy part also. So this is the part I'm going to work with only, right here. And here I'm just going to create a knot, just like you're tying shoes, and then I'm going to loop and swoop. And when I swoop, I'm going to pull through and keep this guy on the bottom. So both of our lengths are coming out the bottom. Okay, again, the good thing about raffia and placing it on here is we can fix how it looks by hot gluing and adding to it. So there's my hot glue, or my raffia. If I want to do a little bit smaller, I can just pull those in. And then we'll fluff all these out once they're placed and cut up things and do all that. You can put, you can decide where you want to place things, if you want that over there or over here, or if you want it dead center and move the high, wherever you would like. This is totally up to you. Again, I can't wait to see them and you to share them with us and our website. Before I put this eucalyptus in, I will glue that down, and then I'm going to poke the eucalyptus in the sides and build around it that way. I feel like I can just get a better picture of where I want everything to go that way. So that's the way I'm going to do it. This guy's a little long. I can see that already. Okay. So I'll place my ribbon. And this is what I was talking about with the glue and being able to just place the ribbon where you want it to be. Like I like this guy down here, so I'm gonna put a little tack right underneath there, lick my finger, and stick it down and hold it, and it won't stick. I like that. These ones look like the rest of them are gonna kind of stay right where I want them to. And this one, though, I don't like that. Even though when I put my raffia on, it'll probably flatten it anyways, but I'm gonna put a tiny bit of glue right there and glue him down. Okay, there, like that. So that's perfect. Then my raffia dude. Okay. I know all you guys have so many crafty, fun little wingdings sitting around your craft room that you are gonna make like the cutest little additions to this darn thing and put mine to shame. I just know it's gonna happen. So, you know, maybe we should have, oh, I got an idea for our VIP group. Maybe we should have like a craft off and see who can create the best, except for if y'all were around last month, I'm pretty sure we all got shown up by a guy in our group with the jewelry rack. Just saying, not naming names, Ezekiel, but we'll see if he even watches the video and if he comments about this. But he kind of outdid us last month, ladies. I'm just saying we should probably try and step up our game. Okay, now my raffia is kind of going everywhere. I like that, but I'm gonna give it a little bit of a haircut and make these a little uneven so they're kind of a little more spunky and get that going. So that's what it looks like so far. Cute. You know, I'm gonna be honest with you, and this is kind of a little thing about Project Home DIY, and especially where Project Home DIY is going in the future. But a lot of these projects I don't make. I've never made this before with you until I do it with you. And so it's a learning process with me along the way as well. Most of these things are inspired things. Like this is something that you guys pinned a lot off of Pinterest, and I was like, okay, fine, we can do this one. So I put it together, designed our own high, because I do like to separate our things a little bit from inspiration that we do find. But in the near future, coming up, as you'll see, September 1st box, that is a complete idea in my head of how and what we're going to be doing. And I'm so excited to bring it to you. And I'm gonna be honest, I've never even made it before myself. So, and I've never seen a finished final product. But I usually don't, because again, this is also not something that I've made before. So this is like the first time I finally get to see these things that go on in my head and each piece that I plan come together. So this is just as exciting for me as it is you guys, and I love it. And I love being able to see all your ideas come together too with it. I'm gonna tack down that just a teeny bit. Although I'm pretty sure it's not going anywhere. Although I do live in Wyoming and it is pretty windy here. Not if many of you haven't been here, but it is windy. Okay, so I love the look of the high. I kind of designed it so it fit right in that trough, so it wasn't like straight across or so, but you can decide how you want to put that. Okay, so let's place these suckers. I'm gonna pull some of these off. This is gonna be total preference of how you want to place these. But just sticking them in there, I feel like you can't make this look bad. Like, you just can't. It's just gonna look awesome. Like, seriously. I mean, it just looks perfect. And I'm pretty good at figuring things out, but I tell you what, there are some pretty darn talented people that do very well at this stuff. So I'm just kind of shoving those in there and hiding them underneath the bow a little bit. Again, like your finger, if you touch it, it'll be a lot less painful. May still hurt, but it'll be a lot less painful. Okay, I see the end of him coming through, so I'm going to cut him with my scissors that I've already wrecked. But I'm gonna poke him back in there and hot glue him. There we go. Gonna do the same. I kind of like to keep things symmetrical. If I do one where, I'll do one on the other side like that. I know this guy's gonna be too long. Maybe I'll stick some glue on him first and then stick it in there. Do you guys ever stand your hot glue gun up? I don't. No, that's first time. Probably should. Might work better. There's that guy. And I might even add some of these extra ones just in the surface in the top. I like that. See, I just never know what I'm doing till you get there. This guy's kind of hidden back here, but I like him right there. These are on wire, so you will be able to adjust them and bend them a little bit if you want them a certain way, direction. So there's that. I like it. Now my last thing is placing the high. Before I do that, if you decide to want to flip-flop this sign, I should have told you this before, but build this whole piece off of the sign and then tack this on with just one like command glue dot. So then it can be pulled off easier. Now that I have all this hot glue in areas, it's not going to be as easy to pull off. So just keep that in mind if you do want to make it reversible, to do that. I wish I had my wire cutters, kids. God bless them. They're just great. That wire was a little too long for me right there, so there, I can move them up. And I do love how all this is going everywhere. That's a cool thing. And I'm gonna place my high, and I am just gonna tack it just a little bit, just like that. It's not gonna take much glue to keep that down and centered or wherever you want it. Just press it down. There it is. There it is. Okay, one last thing. Take some more of your raffia. You got a little bit of it, so you're going to use a couple more strands, just like this much. Okay, cut these blunt ends off. I'm going to tie a knot. I'm going to make a hanger with the raffia so I can hang it nicely. There's my cut in, and then kind of, you know, roughly measure that. Not a very good measurer. So my husband and I do work together. We run both of these businesses together from home, and we work together 24/7. We do very well together. He was a custom home builder before we started, well, before I started this crazy thing. And then he learned, you know, of course, measuring everything perfectly. And I'm like, this looks good. He doesn't go for that. He doesn't like that as much as I like that kind of measuring. So that's the kind of measuring you guys get is, meh, this looks good. So then I'm just gonna glue those on the back right there. And I'll have a nice little hanger to put that on. This is where your glue gun finger is going to come in handy, but before you let it, or lick it, or lick your fingers and then touch it, let it set up just a little bit because that's a lot of glue. Let that sit for just a second. There's hot glue strings everywhere. And I like doing this with the glue because you can also like press things down and make sure it sticks and stays really well. If you just let the glue sit, it kind of, you're not sure if it is going to take, and this way you can press it down and make sure it's stuck hard. So that is perfect. There it is. There is the final sign for August 1st. Oh, and I thought I had a little, oh, I do, little hidden hook. There it is. So thank you for joining us. We will be working on September 1st's project for you guys, giving you lots of sneak peeks in the VIP group, so make sure that you join that. The VIP group, also on your instructions that you have, there's a little QR code at the bottom. Scan that and it'll take you right to the Facebook VIP group. You'll just have to answer when you joined and I will accept you as part of the group. So I hope you join us. Share your completed projects there with us. We love to see all the variations and all the fun. Till next time, see ya. Bye.